nice thing Biden is doing today, we've had many, if you remember, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, many military people on our show who got deported. If anybody's been supporters of our military personnel who have gotten deported, it's us here at Bradshaw Live. So I was really, really happy to hear that Joe Biden has announced today that he is going to review the deportations of veterans and military family members that occurred under the enforcement policies of Donald Trump. Now, we've had plenty of people on, including family of Alejandra Juarez. She was a guest on our show with her daughter, Pamela. You may have remembered that her husband voted for Trump. Remember, her husband voted for Trump. And he said, I didn't think when he said he was going to kick out all the bad gringos that it was going to be my wife. Now, after almost 20 years living in America and no criminal record, Alejandro was deported to Mexico in 2018, despite being married to a United States Marine, having 2 American-born children. And Alejandra's story was by her 11-year-old daughter, Estella, at the Democratic National Convention in August. Now, for service members and veterans, Trump's stricter policies at times led to immigrant soldiers or veterans having their naturalization applications denied at a higher rate than civilians not in the military. Those policies also led to deportations of some veterans or family members of currently serving military personnel. We had a bunch of military people on our show, all who were deported, and all had similar stories, if you remember. They came to the United States as teenagers or children. This is the country they knew. They signed up to be in the military. They went to war to protect the United States of America, whether it was Iraq or Afghanistan or anywhere else around the world. And they came back, believed they were Americans, thought they were Americans, had some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. We heard this story a lot. Did something dumb and got deported, okay? And it was the same thing we were asking all the time. Where was all of the support, both health-wise, mental support, and physical support for our veterans that come back with post-traumatic stress disorder? Where was that support? There was none. And then when they do something, you know, you're in war. You know, bombs are flying everywhere, and you come back to this calmness. You can understand why you need an adrenaline rush again. I mean, honestly, I get it.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's embarrassing and a joke. Our country, like the fact that they send these people out knowing of their status or whatever it is, and when they come back, like you say, have no support. In Ethiopia and Eritrea, you know, my family's really from Eritrea, but they were raised in Ethiopia. They were in war for 30 years, from the 70s into the 90s, and so many of them, either they were blinded by explosions, they lost limbs, men and women, children as well, that they put in. But the one thing about it is the people showed love to the veterans. The people would bring them in. Even me growing up in the United States in LA, all I remember as a kid is my mom bringing veterans from Ethiopia and Eritrea to our house in LA and actually getting them set up with schools, starting their lives in the country. And the fact that, you know, I grew up seeing my people do that, and we are here and you see the Americans just literally throwing them out to the battlefield, and when they come back, they have no support. It's embarrassing.
And
it really is.
Right, and they don't get support. And if you happen to have been an American, born here or naturalized here, you know, you wind up in jail, or more luckily, you know, you get support and help before you do something bad, you know, you get treatment. Here,
exactly.
You know, you don't get support. You do something bad, and this is the only country you've known your entire life since you were a kid. And then I remember the story of the veteran who said he was in jail for 7 years. He came back. He's a U.S. citizen now. He was in jail for 7 years for drugs. And then they shipped him out to Texas, and he thought he was going to get released. And they told him to walk across a bridge with the clothes on his back, and he was stuck in Mexico.
It's sick.
Yeah.
It really is.
And this is
because I guarantee you these people with power wouldn't have done that to their own family members that went out to the war.
Of course not.
That part.
Of course not.
Absolutely not.
You know what?
You should be treating humans as human beings. You should treat people the same way you would want to treat your loved ones or have your loved ones treated.
You know, Yo-Yo, it really comes down to this. You know, when you meet somebody face to face and you know them and you have a relationship with them, there's a level of empathy that you build for that person. And you say, and now if that person's, you know, out of status or a deportable alien, you say, oh man, come on, give this person a break. They're really, really, really good person, you know? But everybody else, these nameless, faceless people out there who you don't know, get rid of them. Who needs them? I mean, that's how people feel. It's sad.
What it comes down to.
Right? It's sad.
It is very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
So unfortunate.
And then our politicians, they know better. They know better. Our politicians know a lot better. Privately, they'll say, yeah, it's really terrible what's going on.
Right.
Privately, they'll say it. But you want to know what?
That doesn't help.
They don't care about human suffering.
Right.
Because if they cared about human suffering, we would not have the immigration policies we have. They care about power, and they care about keeping their position, and they care about gaining more power. Because, you know, I guarantee you, if you sat down with each of these politicians who are very anti-immigrant, and you sat down and you showed them story after story, you know, many on our show, many people calling on our show, and you say, isn't that a sad situation? Don't you think we should be helping people like this? They would have to say yes.
Of course.
So I'm glad that Biden at least is going to take a look at helping our deported veterans.
Great.
A 2019 Government Accountability Office report found that there were more than 250 veterans right now in deportation. God knows how many already got deported. I thought, Vanessa, we would end 2020 and early 2021 and not have to talk about Pumpkin anymore. Just, he doesn't leave.
Just keeps coming up, Brad.
Yeah.
Not like we're asking for this.
Now, Twitter has said that even if Trump runs for president in 2024, he's banned from Twitter.
Dunzo.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So ban means ban, not banned for a few years. Ban means ban.
Dunzo.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah, Ned Segal, he's Twitter's chief financial officer, stressed to CNBC that permanent ban means permanent ban to Twitter. He said the way our policies work, when you are removed from the platform, you are removed from the platform whether you are a commentator, a CFO, or you are a former or public official. Now, Twitter permanently banned Trump shortly after the January 6th attack, in which he is now the subject of a second impeachment. Do you know, Jonathan and Vanessa, there has never been a president of the United States in the history of the United States who got impeached twice.
Yeah.
And there's never been a president who's been convicted.
Because
Nixon resigned. Nixon resigned before his conviction. Clinton was not convicted, and there was President Johnson also not convicted, and now Trump. Federal authorities, they're still
here for it.
What?
I'm here for it.
Okay.
He said he wanted to make history. He's making history right here.
He certainly is. Now, the House impeachment managers concluded their oral arguments today in the Senate trial of Donald Trump a day after they delivered their dramatic presentation that showed in graphic detail the storming of the Capitol by Trump supporters. Democrats turned attention to the harm caused by the attack and the lack of remorse by Trump. Others expressed fear that failing to impeach Trump will set a dangerous precedent. Prosecutors revealed today that shortly after the election, Jessica Watkins, a member of the extreme right Oath Keepers, one of these militant or militia type, white supremacist groups, told an associate that she was awaiting direction from President Trump about what to do about the results of the vote. Watkins wrote in a text message, "The President of the United States has the right to activate units. If Trump asks me to come, I will." Now, new video shown today of rioters attacking police. It was very disturbing. Some were saying, "I'm going to effing kill you." Another showed a guy in a red hat repeatedly calling a police officer a traitor. According to the police union, on top of the death of Officer Sicknick, He's one of the Capitol policemen who died, and the subsequent suicide of Officer Howard Liebengood, another Capitol officer who defended the Capitol. 81 Capitol police officers in total were injured, 2 dead. Some have permanent brain damage, another lost an eye.
Oof.
Okay, but Donald Trump, he takes no responsibility for any of this. And again, the big defense of Donald Trump is that you can't impeach a president who is no longer president. That's going to be the defense. You can't impeach
his argument, and he's sticking with it.
Now, I will say this, which was pointed out to me today, and I said, oh my gosh, you know what? Never thought of it. Right after the events of January 6th, the Democrats wanted to impeach him right away. Mm-hmm. And you want to know what the Republicans said in the Senate? They controlled the Senate. They said there will be no impeachment. We're not calling Congress back. Too bad. And now they say, well, now you can't impeach because he's not a sitting president anymore. But the Democrats wanted to impeach him on January 7th, but the Republicans wouldn't. They controlled the Senate. Mitch McConnell, he wouldn't schedule a vote. So now he says, after I refused to schedule a vote, now he says, well, he's no longer president.
That's wild.
Yeah, but he still needs to be held accountable for things done when he was in office.
Of course he does.
So,
of course he does. Of course.
Exactly.
He does.
And just like what Voltaire said, anyone who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he, the absurdity is, him saying that the election was rigged or stolen, and the atrocity, of course, is the mob storming the Capitol.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless if he's not president anymore, he still has to pay for what he has done.
I got to say something, all right? I have to tell you, never in my life, even when there were Republicans running the country, I disagreed with their policies, many of them. Sometimes I disagree with Democrats. I kind of go back and forth. But I have to tell you, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, never in my 52 years of life have I ever literally hated a politician or a man. I can't remember even hating anybody as much in my life.
I hate that we even get to call him a politician.
I said, you know what? I don't remember ever in my entire lifetime hating any public figure more than this pumpkin. Never. Wow. He ruined so many lives. All right. Many other public figures, you don't like what they say, you don't like what they wear, you don't like what they do. Even politicians. But this guy ruined America, ruined the world. I can't stand him.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if I lived in before years, there would be politicians I hate just as much, because this country definitely has a way of putting men of power, or in power that have his type of beliefs that literally just break down different cultures and different races. So, but he is definitely on top, one of the top ones that I cannot stand.
Yeah. I mean, on a regular basis. Meanwhile, more than 60 million people have recovered from coronavirus, according to our friends at Johns Hopkins University. There's more than 107 million coronavirus cases worldwide, 2.3 million people dead of coronavirus, 27 million people diagnosed in the U.S., 471,000 dead, more than all who died from America during World War II. When the perception of risk from the coronavirus is also now the lowest it has been since the coronavirus pandemic has started. People are less and less scared of coronavirus. When asked about the risk to their health if we return to normal pre-pandemic behavior, while the pandemic is ongoing right now, 25%, 1 out of 4 people thought there was a small risk of just going back to regular life. And only 9% said it's way too risky to even try. So do you feel that people are less risk averse now?
If they're less what?
Risk averse. I mean, I am. I have to be honest with you. But I think I got less risk averse because I just got tired of staying at home.
Right. Same.
I think
So I mean, I just, to me, it's human nature. It's going to be like that, because you go, you venture out a little bit, then you come back and you say, hey, didn't get it. And you venture out a little more,
Right.
Still didn't get it.
Still didn't get it.
It's just like putting your toe in the water.
Right. Right.
Or
it's kind of like the mouse who sees the cheese and he goes like a little quarter way and then runs back into his hole, and then he goes halfway and runs back into his hole.
Right. Exactly.
Meanwhile,
yeah, I think it's going to be that game for a while.
Yeah, but I think people are going to be less and less scared to do things, and they're going to do riskier and riskier things. Luckily for us, Dr. Fauci, he has predicted that by April, it's going to be open season on vaccinations in America. That means anybody by April, which is only 6 weeks away, but virtually anybody in April can start getting vaccinated. So you can do your vaccination in April.
Ours?
Yes. According to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
Big decisions, guys. Big decisions. Big decisions.
So close.
Big decisions.
Time just be flying, so
Now, the CDC also announced yesterday that people who have been fully vaccinated against coronavirus, right now that means with 2 doses of either the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine, they can skip quarantine if they have been exposed to someone infected with the virus.
Oh.
Does that change your mind about vaccinations?
No.
You would not need to quarantine now.
I was just going to say, I don't think that's going to cut it.
That's not going to cut it. Now, meanwhile, the British government is considering whether to ban anyone from taking a summer vacation until they're vaccinated. Does that change your mind if the United States follows what Britain does, basically saying you can't, because in Europe, come summer, Europeans, they love their summer vacations. They go south in August,
Right.
Whether it's Italy, Greece, wherever, they find sun, Spain. Now, would that change your mind if the U.S. says no vacation, you can't get on a plane without taking a vaccination?
Yeah.
That would change your mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because like I said, I've gone over a year from seeing my family. So at this point, I'm going to do what I have to do to keep them protected, to see them. It's not even like vacationing them, because I can have fun at my own house, but I need to see my family. So I'm going to do what I have to do.
And lastly, Vanessa, the wearing of 2 masks now has been scientifically determined to block 92.5% of potentially infectious particles, including coronavirus. So for every 100 drops of coronavirus, I guess you're walking into, a double mask would prevent 92.5% from even getting into your body. Are you going to?
Yeah, I went to a doctor's. I was surprised. Hospitals are doing this. I had a doctor's appointment at a hospital a couple of days back, and I was already wearing my mask when I stepped in. But right at the door, they're handing you another mask. And I'm looking at the guy like I'm wearing a mask, and he's looking at me like, that's great. Here's another one.
So they were making you wear
like,
2 masks when you went in? I have not seen that yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. At least here in Jersey. That caught me off guard.
Was it comfortable to wear 2 masks? I have not worn 2 masks yet. How did it feel?
I mean,
was there a difference?
It was fine.
Was there a difference?
No, not really.
Like in breathing.
I had my cloth, I had my customized fashion mask, and then you just put that lighter
underneath
doctor one or hospital one
underneath.
They don't let you just, because I did go to the hospital as well. They don't let you just come in with a cloth mask. You have to have an actual
medical
surgical mask, one.
Yeah,
one of
but
those.
even the surgical, everyone who had the surgicals layered too. There were people that had 2 surgical. Yeah, everyone had masks.
I have not done the double mask yet, but I would think people wouldn't want to do it because it's not comfortable. But you're telling me it's fine.
Not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad. Yo-yo.
I mean,
I haven't
2021
tried it,
tank. This is the world we're living in.
I'm here for it because that's protecting people. It's stopping the spread of it. So I'm here for it.
And did you see that my favorite pancake syrup, I can finally buy it again? They've fully changed the name. It's no longer Aunt Jemima.
Good.
It is no longer Aunt
They
Jemima.
rebranded?
They rebranded it. It is now called Pearl Milling Company. Quaker,
Milling
yes,
Company?
yes, Quaker Oats. It is a division of PepsiCo, which owns the brand Pepsi. They unveiled a new name and logo. Pearl Milling Company has historical roots with the brand. It was a small Missouri mill that in 1889 produced the first pancake mix, later known as Aunt Jemima. So it was the Pearl Milling Company that made the pancake mix. Now,
I wonder if they're going to do anything to Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben's got to go too. I think Uncle Ben is already been canceled, but I don't know what the new name is.
I'm not too happy about this.
You're not happy with Pearl Miller Company? You want something splashier?
No, I mean, I was fine with Aunt Jemima. Like, why do we have to cancel her?
Well, because it was a minstrel character, a black woman who was content to serve her white masters. So, you know, you may not have understood, you may not have understood it that way, but when you're a kid, you don't know, like, oh, Aunt Jemima, but because I ate it as a kid, and you don't think like that, but that was the reason. The picture of Aunt Jemima was Nancy Green. She was a former slave, and she was the face of the pancake. The move to retire the brand came after the company faced backlash following nationwide Black Lives Matter protests over the police killing of George Floyd and several other black Americans. It is a racial stereotype. The entire character is a racial stereotype. It's like when somebody would back in the 30s and 40s, and they would have these movies, and the black actor would come on, and he's like the singing conductor on the train, and like, yes sir, Mr. Sir, yes sir, and it's that whole stereotype, and it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I don't know why I wasn't more aware of the conversation.
Yeah.
No, I'm over here reading some more about it, and I knew, like, I've always felt some type of way, seeing that, especially, but then again, they don't teach us a lot of what we should know, and that has to do with our culture, in school. So, like, I always felt some type of way of seeing a mammy with, one of those headscarf bandanas, and the history of that. And like, I'm over here reading, it was invented in 1898 by 2 white inventors, and like the fact that they decided to add a character that was black, darker skin, heavy set, threw in that same bandana, the same mammy that you saw from back in the day. It's just wild that it took until this year to finally, change that. But
I agree with you.
Like I said, this is stuff that our country was founded on, and
I
this
agree
is history.
With you. And you know what? And it's going to continue, unfortunately. Aunt Jemima now being Pearl Miller Company doesn't change anything.
Right.
It doesn't change anything. I mean, we still have the same problems we had before. But at least they did the right thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
We couldn't get on the plane because we didn't have our COVID test done. But apparently we did, and we're able to span the world. A New York woman. All right, we're going to start in Spain, guys.
Okay.
All right, I'm sure we'll end up in the UK at some point. But I'm sure. But a New York woman named Nicole Hidalgo, she traveled to a wedding in Spain in 2016 and recently wrote about the experience for CNN because it turned out she went to the wrong wedding. The wedding was for her friend Jose Blaya. Blaya and Hidalgo had met 6 years previously when Blaya had moved from Spain to New York, to Hidalgo's New York apartment, and the roommates became friends. Now, Hidalgo flew into Madrid, spending a few days sightseeing before heading down to Seville, Spain, for her friend's wedding. The morning of the wedding, Hidalgo grabbed a cab to the church. She gave the cab driver the address, a church in Seville. When the driver pulled up outside the destination, other guests were already arriving, so Hidalgo decided to mingle. She said, "We were there early, and just by my nature, I talked to everybody, so I introduced myself to a lot of people. I took lots of pictures." Hidalgo snapped shots of the bridesmaids wearing flowing red gowns, the glamorous mother of the groom, and the ornate interior of the church. She even asked some guests if they'd pose for a picture with her. Now, Hidalgo, she's Mexican-American and wanted to make the most of the opportunity to speak Spanish. She even asked one fellow guest if they were there for Jose Maria. The woman looked at her with a blank face and eventually replied that she was there for the bride. When the ceremony about to start, Hidalgo nabbed a seat near the front, and for the first time, she properly took in that she didn't recognize anybody who was also present. Now, when Hidalgo had never met Blaya's family members, she'd seen lots of photos. They definitely weren't there. For sure, they would be here by now. So Hidalgo squinted through the open church door, looking for the number on the building across the street. It was numbered somewhere in the 50s, and Blaya's wedding was taking place at number 70. So it was the wrong church. Ignoring more than a few strange looks, Hidalgo rushed out of the church and to the right church in time. The wedding guests greeted the disheveled Hidalgo, who breathlessly explained what had happened. Heading inside, she found her seat just in time for the ceremony. Seems like right out of Wedding Crashers.
Right.
Except, but it was absolutely true. One of my favorite movies, Wedding Crashers.
That's an amazing.
I was waiting for somebody to get shot. You know, like they did in Wedding Crashers when they got shot going after, going after the birds.
Amazing movie.
Great movie. Meanwhile, an exercise instructor unwittingly captured the Myanmar coup in a dance video. We're off to Myanmar. A physical education teacher who live streamed her outdoor exercise routines has risen to fame after the footage appeared to capture Myanmar's military staging a coup behind her. The woman, Khing Hnin Wai, can be seen shimmying left and right while punching her hands in the air as black SUVs, motorbikes, and a military convoy head toward the barricade outside Myanmar's parliament. The upbeat video swiftly went viral on her Facebook page. Hnin Wai describes herself as a physical education teacher. Can you imagine you're doing this? Can you imagine, Vanessa, like you're doing one of your videos outside and like all of a sudden, I don't know, like there's like a bank robbery behind you or something?
What?
Yeah,
don't mind me.
They're overthrowing the government in Myanmar, and she's like doing exercises. Can we see that video one more time? I want to see that video one more time.
It's her energy for me.
Now I'm making fun because I don't know what happened in Myanmar. I'm not really, I don't know what happened, and I hope everything's okay. I don't want to make light of a coup attempt in Myanmar. Writing in Myanmar, Hnin Wai told followers that she did not expect the coup to unfold as she danced in a location that was very familiar to her.
I mean, listen, I'm telling you, that probably would have happened to me. There was one time I was like doing a video and I was taking a selfie walking down the street of Harlem, and all of a sudden some guy just ran past me and almost hit me, and I was like, whoa, somebody's in a hurry, and I was like showing him and I was laughing. Then like literally 30 seconds later, all these cop cars come rushing towards me. It's like, did you see anyone running? They just stole all this, like, woo, 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 woo. I'm like, what? I got it on camera. And I showed it to the police and everything. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did they catch the guy?
Yeah, they caught him because of me.
Really?
I told them where
did you have to go and testify in court? Did you have to go and testify in court?
No.
That's a wackier news story than we've heard all day. That's the best wacky story of the day, Yo-Yo.
My life.
Right.
Yo-Yo caught the people right.
My life.
Right in the house. We had the wackiest news right in the house.
That's right.
In Harlem.
That's really funny.
In Harlem.
So a city worker sorting through donated clothes in Taiwan came across $10,140 in cash that had been stored in red envelopes and placed in the pockets of the clothing.
What?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What an honest person that this actually made the news, because we're probably got to assume that he gave the money back. Now, the Tai Chung Nan Tung District Environmental Protection Bureau said Huang Chi-lung, a member of the Bureau's cleanup team, was sorting through bags of donated clothes at a collection site in the city when he found the cash. Officials took the bag that contained the money to a local police station where officers found receipts and other documents that identified the owner. The owner, a 72-year-old woman, said her husband had gathered the clothes to be donated without realizing one of the items contained the envelopes of money she had been saving for retirement. The Environmental Protection Bureau said Zhao brought the cleanup team a basket of apples to show her gratitude. Huh?
Wow.
A basket of apples. Take your goddamn apples and, I just gave you back $10,140 in cash, and you're giving me a basket of freaking apples?
Gonna give me some oranges, some vitamin C?
You give me how about give me 20%? Give me 30%. Right?
Bare minimum.
Right?
Yeah.
What would you want? 20, 30%. I'm an honest guy. I gave you back the money.
30%.
Right?
Hey, you wouldn't have had
You would have had zero.
If I wasn't
Any of it.
Here's a basket of
Right.
apples.
That's a slap in the face.
That
right
is
there.
a slap in the face.
That's
Wow.
trifling.
That is very
That's real
trifling.
trifling.
This is not even a fun story. I mean,
No.
I'm going to tell you something. This guy, what's his name? His name is Huang Chi-lung. He must have got a tongue lashing by his wife when he came home. You idiot. You gave back $10,000 and you're bringing me home a freaking apple?
Wow.
Woof. If somebody did that to me, y'all better have a camera to catch my facial reaction. You better. For your own entertainment.
She said
Yo-yo,
apple
yo-yo.
keep the doctor away.
Yo-yo would shove the apples where the sun don't shine and say, here's some apple pie, right? Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.